it's Kristin. So for Thanksgiving, because I wasn't able to put up the turkey video that I promised, I wanted to do one of the desserts that we really enjoy in our family, and that is called pumpkin roll. This is a recipe that my sister shared with me a while back, and so now I'm going to share it with you guys. So first we are going to start with the cake ingredients. First thing I'm going to do is put 3 eggs into my mixer here. You could use a hand mixer, you could use your actual hand. I'm just going to use my KitchenAid. And I just have a little bowl here that I like to break my eggs into to make sure that, you know, there's nothing nasty inside. So I'm going to drop all 3 of those eggs down in here. So the eggs are dropped down in here. To that I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of pumpkin. And this is just canned pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling, just the plain 100% pumpkin. So we're going to get that down in there. Apparently I'm going to drop some on my counter. And then I'm just going to let that mix up together. Okay, so this is the consistency that you're looking for with just the eggs and the pumpkin mixed together. So in a separate bowl now, you want to add together 1 cup of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of flour, and I just have a fork, and that's how I mix these together generally, just to kind of incorporate them all together. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And it says a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. We love cinnamon in our family. So 1/2 teaspoon in a very generous manner is how I'm going to do that. So you've got all of your dry ingredients mixed together here. Just, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're just going to put those in with your wet ingredients and let it do its thing. And that is it for the batter portion. Okay, so a couple of things that should be noted here, I should have said before. One is that the actual recipe calls for 1 cup of chopped nuts of your choice to go into this. I don't like nuts in my pumpkin roll. I don't like nuts in anything. I like nuts separately, but I don't like them in things like brownies, fudge, pumpkin roll. Doesn't belong, so, in my opinion. So you can also add that in there, and I'll list that in the recipe below for you guys. I have the oven preheating to 375 degrees, and now I've taken just a cookie sheet, or I call this a jelly roll pan because it has sides on it, and that's what you want. Don't do it, no, it has to have sides on it. And I have a piece of wax paper here, which you guys have probably learned by now. I use wax paper a lot. You could certainly use parchment paper, whatever your little heart desires. And I'm going to get the batter out, and I'm going to pour it into here. Okay, so the key for the wax paper also is that you want to have the extra sides up like here. It might smell a little funny in your oven, but don't worry, nothing's going to happen in a bad way. And that is, later you will see that it is helpful to have a little bit of an edge there. And you don't want your cake to touch the cake pan at all. So you're just going to pour this in here. Also should be noted that a can of pumpkin, your normal size can of pumpkin, is roughly enough for, it is actually not so much roughly, it's enough for 2 of these. So I generally make 2 of these at one time, because otherwise you have random pumpkin. You certainly could use that in pancakes or something like that, but why make 1 of these when you can make 2 and share? So just spread that out. So it gets into all the nooks and crannies, and this will raise, and we'll have a little bit of height to it, because after all you did put baking powder in there. So it's all spread out, and now you're going to put it in the oven, and you're going to bake it for 15 minutes. Okay, so while your pumpkin roll is in the oven cooking, you want to do 2 things. The first thing that you want to do is grab a flour, I call this a flour sack, a dish towel, anything that's large enough for the cake to fit on, which will make sense, I promise. You want to spread that out on your counter. And then on top of that, you want to put powdered sugar. I have a little Pampered Chef shaker dealy thing that I have powdered sugar in. But you also could take one of these. I mean, almost every kitchen has one of these things that hardly ever gets used. You can put powdered sugar in here and then just use a spoon to kind of zhuzh it around in there to get it all over. You could go like that with your hand, whatever. So there are options for you if you don't have one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this all over. I generally put it all over, you know, as big as I think that the cake is, if that makes sense. Okay, now that you have your towel all prepped, and the reason for that is that you're going to actually roll the cake up in here, which you will see when I'm done, and this will prevent it from sticking to that. So, that's the plan. So now, while that's done, cake's still in the oven, you want to mix together your filling. So I am going to take 8 ounces of cream cheese, and get that in here. Alright, so the 8 ounces of cream cheese is in there. I'm also going to put in, if I can get it off of here, 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, so the cream cheese butter is in here. I'm just going to let it kind of meld together. Meld, mix. It's gonna come together. And then into that I'm going to drop 1 cup of powdered sugar. Confectioner's sugar, whatever. So after this has come together, I'm just going to open it up, bring the thing up, and just pull down on the sides, you know, get it all back in the middle. Because we have one more ingredient to add, and you really want to make sure that it gets mixed throughout the whole thing. So the last ingredient that we're going to add is vanilla, and I think I've talked about this to you guys before. I have mine just in this little bottle because I get it from Mexico, from friends of ours or whatever that go to Mexico. I like real vanilla. I think it makes a huge difference versus imitation vanilla. So if you can buy real vanilla at the store, it's just much less expensive in Mexico. So you want to do 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. I don't have a 3/4 teaspoon. I don't even know if that exists. So I'm going to add my half and my 1/4. So this is the consistency of what that should look like. I mean, it's really nothing spectacular, but I always find it helpful when I'm making things for the first time to kind of know what they're supposed to look like. So that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so I have the cake pulled out from the oven. I do have oven mitts, and you can let it cool for a little bit. If you want, you can do it right away with whichever works best for you. I like to keep the oven mitt here, and then I turn it around a little bit so that my fingers are like this. You will notice I have put on an apron, and I did that because sometimes there's a little poof of powdered sugar, and I don't really want that all over me. So what you're going to do is flip this top, you know, so that the top is down onto the powdered sugar. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Did you see the poof of powdered sugar? And then this, like I said, mine's cool enough to touch. But if yours is not cool enough to touch, to get it up, you can take a table knife to get underneath that. I'm just going to pull mine out here. And then we're going to start to take the paper off. So once you have it flipped, then you're going to want to pull the wax paper off. And this can be pretty tricky. And a little bit, you have to have some patience. But once you kind of start getting it going, then it will work. And don't be worried if the cake starts to pull up a little bit. It's malleable enough right now because it's warm. Don't wait too long either. That'll start pulling off for you. If you see any pieces of wax paper that stayed put, you know, pull those off. Nobody wants wax paper in their pumpkin roll. So you can see, hopefully, that how I'm just pulling this up. And I try to, once I get it started in a good place, I try to don't go too fast, because if you don't want to kind of lose your groove, and then you have to start over by finding a good spot. So I'm just pulling gently. So there you have your pumpkin roll, all rolled out like this. You are then gonna put up your end, and you want to roll this as tightly as you possibly can. The tighter you roll it, the better shape it's going to take after it cools and you fill it. So once you have it rolled up, this is where the seam is. I like to push it a little bit, and I have a cooling rack right here. It can be any kind of cooling rack, doesn't really matter. I like to put it seam side down, and that will also help it. All right, so now we're gonna let it cool for 1 hour, and then I will come back and show you how to fill it. Okay, so an hour or so has passed, and now I just have out a plate here that I'm gonna put it on. I have the filling right here, and so we're just going to unroll this. I'm going to put my cutting board up here. Just like this. Okay. Now we're going to take the filling and just scoop it out onto here. And then I have this is a Pampered Chef spreader, spatula, I don't know. So that's what I use. You can use just a knife. I find this to be easy. And you're going to just spread it all out nice and evenly. So as you can see, I have it all spread out here, and I haven't gone too close to this edge, which was the outside edge of the roll, because you don't want it to come squishing back out. So you are now going to roll it back up. Carefully, of course. You want to go exactly the way that you had it when you rolled it up. Don't try to go the opposite way. So now you have your pumpkin roll, and I've just transferred it from the flour sack thing to the cutting board. And the first thing that I'm going to do is cut off this end. And that will go to my husband. He will enjoy that when he comes in from hunting. And now all the other pieces, you just kind of decide how big you want to cut them. This is about the size that I usually cut them. So this is what your plate's going to look like. I think it's a really pretty presentation. It always looks really nice with the swirls and everything. So I hope that you guys enjoyed learning how to make pumpkin roll. This is one of my favorite recipes. Like I said, my sister made this and shared this recipe with me, and I really have enjoyed it. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave it below. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. I hope that you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, this is a great treat to make any time of the year. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!